All right, Marco. It seems like every single time I'm about to do a show or a night that I have a show, the Brandon Aiyuk situation just keeps popping up. And not because anything, this is the nice thing about it. It's not like it's anything that Brandon Aiyuk is doing to cause it. He's not going about it and having any drama. The team's not really causing any drama. But every single day, it seems like another receiver is getting big time money. Today, that receiver was Jaylen Waddle. Dude, first of all, can I ask you this before we get into Brandon Aiyuk? Do you like the 49ers strategy? Because I posted immediately, oh, looks like the dollar value just keeps going up. The more you wait, the worse this gets. And everybody, of course, comes to the 49ers defense and is like, well, I mean, what do you expect him to do? And if he's got a good agent, then there's no way his agent's going to let him sign. And my rebuttal to that is, listen, unless every player for the 49ers just happens to have the best agent in the world that's always like, let's wait till the bitter end. At some point, you have to acknowledge this is a 49er doing. So do you agree with the way that the 49ers handle their contract situations or their
Not one
negotiations with their big time players?
Not one bit, man. We could go back to George Kittle, Fred Warner. People forget Fred Warner was like requesting a trade. Like people forget that he was going public and having his inner circle say stuff publicly. Fred Warner's dad publicly tweeted stuff that he didn't like how the contract negotiations were going on. We saw last year with Deebo Samuel. What's weird is the players that should have gotten their money up front right away didn't, right? But a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo at the time who played 5 games got his money like that. Like right away, they extended him. It was really just, to me, like it doesn't make sense with this organization in terms of you're letting your players get more expensive as they go. And I guess that's cool if you're in the market of paying your players to be the highest paid players no matter what. But in the terms of roster construction, it's kind of shoot yourself in the foot in terms of the Niners are constantly overpaying players. For example, Deebo Samuel, and now they're in a situation where his contract doesn't look right. Nick Bosa's, they waited so long with Nick Bosa's contract that if you look at the defensive ends, he's paid like $5 million more than the next highest paid dude. So like to me, that kind of stuff just blows my mind in terms of how they do their roster construction in terms of when they decide to pay players. Confusing. I don't get it. Now I understand in a player perspective, you want to wait, but also an agent's not going to tell a player, "Hey, let's hold off on this deal. You're going to get this much guarantee." Like they're not going to do that. If you're getting a fair contract, an agent's not going to say, "Hey, hold off." We've seen so many players get extended, so many receivers this offseason get extended, and none of them are playing the waiting game. Those teams are getting ahead of the curve to pay their player earlier because they know that price range is going to keep going up every other contract. So it's just very confusing why the Niners are doing it how they do it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I get it from at some point. I remember 2 seasons ago, Grant and I were doing a show, and he's like, if the 49ers were smart, they would just sign Nick Bosa early. And I said, yeah, I agree. But I'm going to tell you one thing. I know just based off of what you've seen from the Bosas, there is no way Bosa is going to sign a contract. He's going to bet on himself. That's how they do business. You're not going to be able to sign him early. He wants the full bag, and he knows if he plays great this year, and he ended up doing that, he'll get paid. So I do understand that there are some players and some agents that do go about their business that way. I'm not oblivious to that, but there's no way that you can sell me that Fred Warner, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, all guys that publicly showed frustration, Brandon Aiyuk, are those same guys that are like, yeah, let's just hold out. And their agent's like, yeah, let's hold out till the bitter end. I just don't see it that way. This is the 49ers doing for the most part outside of Bosa and maybe, another player or two. But the 49ers are choosing to do business this way. And somebody, I think it was on Grant's show, and I wish I could remember who it was. I would love to give him credit, said something along the lines of, what are the 49ers gaining? Because at best, they're saving themselves minimal amount of money. At worst, they're pissing off their star players and still paying them. So what's the point? And you're letting him sit out through training camp and carry on. And even Bosa, the guy, if there's anybody you can trust to come in as close to football shape as possible, he is living proof that it is impossible to be in true football shape away from training camp and away from the team. And that is a guy that trains like a madman. So if he can't come in and be football ready, then why the hell would anybody else be able to do it? It's not a good look year after year after year after year when you're trying to win a Super Bowl, but you're holding out your best players, knowing you're going to sign them anyways. And then they come in and can't contribute the way that they need to in order for you to win that Super Bowl. It's just weird to me.
No, exactly. And you mentioned Bosa, like he publicly said it. We saw Deebo Samuel coming out of shape. Like, so it's a lot of, it's not just Bosa. We saw Deebo come in heavy and having to run around with Wes Walker to try to get in shape after that contract situation going on. So just very interesting. I don't think Brandon Aiyuk will be a guy that comes in out of shape. I think he's a true pro. And it's different for,
But Bosa didn't come. Hold on, but Bosa didn't come in out of shape either. But there's a difference. You can be in elite shape, but you're not football hardened and ready to go. That is a different ball game.
But I would say it's different between a defensive lineman versus a receiver in the sense of the receivers aren't really banging or getting super physical with each other at the line of scrimmage. Bosa needed those reps because it's a different style of rep in terms of you can condition all you want, but for the most part, receivers, they're not going to be getting banged, tossed around in the trenches and stuff like that. So it's a little bit different shape. So I think he'll come in the right shape that he needs to be in order to be having a successful season. I don't think he's going to be like Deebo Samuel coming overweight, looking extra thick during training camp.
With 2 C's. Okay, so Jaylen Waddle got a deal today. It's interesting that the Dolphins took the same route that the Eagles did in paying Waddle a year early, much like Devontae Smith got his deal. You love it for those teams because that shows that they have the foresight to say, hey, we know we want this player here long term. We know that this market is only climbing. If we wait, if this player plays as good as they have the last couple seasons, and then we wait till next offseason and then we get another money hike, this thing's only going up. So let's sign him now. Let's save ourselves money a year early. I know, what a concept. So what does the Waddle deal do for Brandon Aiyuk and his negotiation?
I don't think it does much.
Okay.
And when I looked at the contract, I know we looked at the numbers that initially came out were like 75 million full guaranteed, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the number, their total guarantees, but the number that is more important is the fully guaranteed money, right? That's only 35.9. So if you look at guys, it doesn't hit I believe he's like 10th ranked. So I could take a look 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He's 11th in terms of total fully guaranteed money. And that's after guys who already have signed, right? So we've seen Amon-Ra St. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Nico Collins. He's ahead of them, but it's not by much. We saw Amon-Ra St. Brown get that mega contract, but his fully guaranteed number is only 34.7. And what this is we saw these players who got the higher APY, which is the average per year salary. They got the higher APY, but when you look at their true numbers for a guy like Amon-Ra St. Brown, Devontae Smith, everyone, oh my God, those guys got cashed out. They truly didn't, because you look at their fully guaranteed, it's very low compared to guys like AJ Brown, Calvin Ridley, Jerry Jeudy, Michael Pittman, and then Tyreek Hill is at the highest with the 52 million fully guaranteed. So it does. I don't think it really changes the numbers for a guy like Brandon Aiyuk, because we know Brandon Aiyuk is gonna get his APY. If he wants that 30, okay, cool. Give him the 30 years, 30 million per year. But what that's gonna do is, okay, now your fully guaranteed money is gonna come down. Your totals is gonna be there with those same guys. But what the more important number is the one that's fully guaranteed, where over the course of his contract, can they get off of that fully guaranteed money? And that's what a lot of teams allow in negotiations. Do you want AP? You want to be the guy where you could puff your chest and say, hey, I got more average per year? That's cool. Well, your fully guaranteed money is gone. And when you look at Waddle's contract, he may not see the 31 million cap hit that he has in his final year, because it's an out year that year. And I believe they saved 21 million of it. So there's a big difference in terms of the fully guaranteed and the total guarantees. So I believe the way it was explained to me, I know Kendrick Lamar asked, "What's the difference of a guaranteed versus fully?" Jess, you may be able to explain this easier than me. The way I was told was fully guaranteed money is what you get up front. Like no matter what happens, that's what you're gonna get. Total is if you get injured in the future, that's what you get. I could be wrong though.